our independence have been built over a lot of sacrifices. It needs to be valued a lot. Every day when we as a soldier fight for this country, either into operations or even peacetime, we lose life, lose them, comes a great war. Where young children crowd is to go out that India-Pakistan war is on.
The First Indo-Pak War, also known as the First Kashmir War, erupted in October 1947 when Pakistan-backed tribal militias invaded the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir.
A man in uniform across the world is similar, right? If he follows the path of true professionalism, so that is one facet which I saw as a young officer. You're physically fit, you're tough, you can climb mountains, you can outrun your soldiers. But when you lose a man on a watch, that is something which actually kills something inside you. I have carried a motto for my life ever: no regrets, no fear. I wear it every time. You know? It's called Pashatapana Bhyamna. That point of time when I took that decision was based on my experiences, knowledge, conditions and context of the time. It may be right or wrong, but I took a decision at that point. I should not revisit it, because the moment I start regretting that decision, my next decisions are going to be flawed.
As an inspiration, as a leader, as a commander, and as you have grown ranks in the armed forces, what is that one word that defines leadership, true leadership? Welcome to a very special episode of the House of Equentis. Today, we explore a narrative that extends beyond finance into courage, leadership, and the very essence of nation building. This Independence Day, we are honored to bring you a conversation with Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey, a man whose life journey holds deep lessons from consistency under fire to decision-making under uncertainty. Lessons that mirror very principles of sustainable investing and long-term value creation. Before we dive in today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to the House of Equentis, your destination for the rare insights on investing, long-term wealth creation, and conversations that connect personal journeys with the larger ideas. Tune in on YouTube or Spotify, and let's begin. Freedom. It's a word we often celebrate, but rarely pause to examine deeply. Are we really free? Are our souls really free? On this Independence Day, House of Equentis goes beyond parades and flags and steps into the life of a man who has lived freedom not just as a citizen, but as its custodian. Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey joins us today as not just an army officer, but also as a strategic thinker and someone who is led from the front in more ways than we could have ever imagined. His story isn't just about medals and missions. It's about clarity in chaos, courage under fire, and building systems that endure. At Equentis, we often speak of long-term wealth creation, consistency, clarity, but today we explore those values through a different lens, that of service, sacrifice, and national spirit. Welcome to the House of Equentis, General Pandey.
Thank you. Thanks for having me over. I had never heard of House of Equentis till the time I got a call from Soumya, and I'm so glad I'm here after having seen your infrastructure here. And after having learned what you're doing, it's a great service and good to be here.
Lovely. It's our pleasure hosting you, sir. Thank you for joining us, and let's begin with a personal reflection. What does independence, or actually Independence Day, really mean to you?
Okay. So it's a very good question actually. I think Independence Day personally for me has evolved as I have grown in service or in my years as an age. When you were a child, it was restricted to carrying balloons, carrying flags, having read about those people who fought, the revolutionaries who fought for our independence and died for it. So one always believed that wish one could be one of them who fought for the independence of the country. But as you grew, you realize that it is our independence have been built over a lot of sacrifices. It needs to be valued a lot, and therefore it comes with a fold of citizen responsibilities that you must step out and do as much as possible for your country, for which so many people have given their lives. For nearly 5 to 6 centuries, 7 centuries, actually, our country, our Bharat Rashtra, so to say, has been invaded, mauled, looted, and particularly in last 200, 250 odd years, when entire, we were actually on the day of independence when I read the history. We were scorched earth at that point of time. And from there to what we have grown is what is very important. And therefore, I feel that this path and the journey on which we are today for the future, we must get back our true glory when we could be influencers of culture and something called Vasudeva Kudumbakam. If we could actually sell this to the world, which is fraught with consumerism today, right? It's totally commercialized, and I think that is where it hems and the conflict starts for controlling independence of other countries. And it allows for that freedom today, at least in India. I've traveled minimum about 30, 35 countries in my service or this thing. And I can tell you, when you land back in India, in Bharat, you realize the virtues of being independent. You can virtually say, do anything and get away, which is not possible in the most modern of the world today, right? And that independence also comes at great cost even now. When Op Sindoor happens, when Kargil happens. A few days back, two very young men, one Lieutenant Colonel Bhanu Pratap Mankotia and Daljit, the Fadar Daljit, who died in an accident in which a huge boulder came down when they were traveling in eastern Ladakh, right? And it came onto the vehicle. There were two officers grievously injured. Every day when we as a soldier fight for this country, either into operations or even peacetime, we lose life, we lose them. It comes at great cost. And I hope that our country understands the value of the independence which we have.
That's a lovely message, General. And I would urge all our young viewers who are, watching us to consciously think about that. At what cost have we got this independence, and at what cost are we ensuring that we really cherish and value the independence that we have and the nation that we live in? So, sir, if you could take us back to your early years, was there a moment that stirred your interest to join the armed forces, or was it something that evolved over time?
Yeah, in my case, everybody in the army, if you ask a question like we are just talking off camera with you, everybody has some reason to join this very great organization. In my case, it was very gradual actually. There are multiple factors which contribute towards it. One was, I think, my home environment. My parents encouraged me to actually read a lot, in terms of not reading for the classes only, for the schools, but they encouraged me to read about how our independence came about. And I have read virtually everything from Chandrasekhar Azad to Subhash Chandra Bose, to how those stories, I used to read about how Sukhdev Singh, how Bhagat Singh and how Rajguru, they came out and they hung themselves in the face of the Britishers when they were pressurized to, actually apologize or whatever they did. Those stories actually stirred a certain degree of love for the country, right? And I was very young. I was just maybe about 8, 9, 10 years old. And thereafter, when you grew, 1971 happened, And that point of time, I was just about 8, 9 years old, 7, 8 years old. And I remember my hometown was base of Gurupur Air Force Base. And the orders were used to come, raat ko, you have to shut down the shutters, put blankets. And there were young children crowd used to go out that India-Pakistan war is on, and shut down the shutters. that enthusiasm when we used to go out and tell everybody, knock on the houses, we can see your light, shut it out, even as young children, was something which he started connecting, and used to see those fighter aircrafts taking off, landing back. I studied for 2 years in Air Force School of Air Force Central School, that base. All that uniform inspired me. But eventually the cementing to join army started happening. When I started reading some those silly commando comics of Second World War, First World War, it was all about American soldiers, British soldiers, Germans, the French. And then one grew into reading the books of wars, right? And when I used to read this geography, the world of operations in which the soldiers were actually fighting, and the subject of sacrifice came very often. And if you look at it, our civilizational issue also, which is into our DNA about sacrificing for your country, for a cause, is very unique set to our country. I think that built up this entire crescendo for me to possibly join, and just kept on layer after layer, kept on joining me. Thinking about joining armed forces. And somewhere in 10th, I decided to join as a soldier. And when I went, this guy at the desk tells me that, young man, young boy, beta, bache, you know how to speak English. You look, any compulsions that you want to join as a soldier so early? I said, no compulsion. My dad is a professor. Everything is fine, but I just want to join as a soldier. So he advised, he actually pushed me not to join and just wait for a year or two. And that is how I came to know about National Defense Academy, and then I appeared for the examination. Oh, by the way, I didn't make it 2 times. I made it written, but couldn't crack the SSB. But gods were with me. 3rd time I was lucky, and I joined army. I think it was my mission. I was born to live the life of army, actually.
तो कहते हैं जिंदगी में जो होना है वो होना ही है, चाहे कैसे भी हो. So 2 times you couldn't, essentially, like you said, you couldn't make it, but the 3rd time you were so resilient, and you were so passionate about it, if I may use the word, that you had to crack it, and you cracked it. But do you think that these values from your childhood, the resilience, the passion, and the go-getter attitude, they still guide you to make decisions?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are a couple of things happen. Firstly, your selection process itself is premised on those certain characters which are possibly of discipline, resilience, perseverance. There are qualities which they look for when you do. In fact, today only I received a message on Instagram that, sir, I am always cracking my written, but I can't crack the SSB. So I told him that there must be something missing. 6 to 7 lakh people appear for NDA examination, only 300 have to crack. So some filtering is there in which they are looking for something. Possibly one had those unique sets which are required to be. They get shaped off, they get matured during training, and thereafter they continue to live with you. I think that is very important. The most important thing is about will do it, howsoever it comes. A factor of honesty, integrity, a team, facet to work in a team. This also comes from your home front, the society in which you live, in the community in which you live. And I guess that is how you build up to that environment, that when you come for your SSB, you're already having those certain qualities in which you are allowed to be selected. And then it gets further cemented and further, shaped and honed.
That's quite inspiring, sir. We were having a chat around your long service, 42 years, rather slightly more than that, you said. And you mentioned a thing that maybe not a badge of honor, but there were very few leaves that you could afford to take. Today, we are living in a world wherein work from home and remote work is celebrated, and I would say considered to be as a flexibility option. But considering that you were there on the front protecting the country, that's one part of it. You had your quota of leaves. How would you suggest this generation of today to be that enduring and not to treat work as only work, but I'm sure there's more to it. There's passion to it. There's heart to it. There's soul to it. Any recommendations for this generation, and so to say, your views on work from home?
Yeah, I think it's a tough question to ask, because I come from a generation totally differently raised. And when I see the current generation or the newer, the fault possibly lies with us because we possibly having seen hardship in some manner or other, we always wanted our children to have the best possible life, and therefore this whole context which is used to work from home, make it easy, to have a greater life, better life, has also ensured that the children today may not be as resilient, right? But the fact also comes out here is that they are far more smarter, right? And therefore, what maybe my generation did in a week's time, today with the existence of technology and their very agile mind, they're able to execute the same job possibly in a couple of hours, right? So I will not stand to judge in terms of what was my unique situation and what is their unique situation. But however, I think one thing they have to take home is that there's something called balance in life, right? So while we didn't have, our commitment to organization was supreme. Right? So once you joined an organization, you stayed course with that organization because there's a factor of loyalty which was there. Today's generation doesn't have, they can flip jobs based on the requirement. But yet their commitment to the job which they do, that should always be there because that defines him separately from a machine or from an animal, right? Even an animal remains committed to what purpose they have. So in case today, if you're not committed, you don't have passion to do something, then possibly your life is not worth living, right? So while you may stay and work at home, it should not be on the virtue of escapism. It should be the necessity and requirement of the situation that point of time. Maybe it's being more efficient, right? But we must always look at it that you must have to develop passion. Most of the time, I look at this facet of work from home is escapism, right? It makes the company much more smarter, leaner, and it becomes a great thing for the cost cutting. And it allows a child or a young man or a young lady to stay at home and, virtually work from pajamas and all. So if you don't get the discipline in life, right, you will possibly tire out much more early. And that is what is happening. That within a couple of years, they find that they're exhausted, they're out. So a discipline allows you, a passion allows you to take that life further. So
Basics remain the same.
yeah, basic remains the same. So they need to look at work-life balance. If you can do things smarter, faster, quicker, you must find some other passion in life to live life, right? You should not be just stuck that I need to stay in the bed or this thing or make too much of money. You must develop some other passion as well to live a life. And the most important part is, I think, be committed to where you are.
Sir, you would have seen intense action all through your life. Being in the forces, I'm sure you've been out there in the middle of real action. Could you share a moment from your service that changed you deeply as a leader and as a person?
Yeah, they will, I've been very fortunate to have been in Kashmir Valley, which is supposed to be today is nurturing towards quite a stable peace to say. I'll not say it's got peace, but it's quite peaceful as of now. I entered Valley somewhere in 90 when it was actually the terrorism factor was on the rise, and thereafter it served 7-10 years in Kashmir. I've seen Glacier, been up, Vijay Kargil, which happened. I was in the fringes there. I was part of Operation Parakram, done 2 tenures opposite the Chinese, quite eyeball to eyeball. This to say that in a moment which defines, which changes you, may not be right. Because again, there are experiences which come to you over a period of time which change you at different level, different point of time. Because when you're a young man, when you see an enemy firing at you, because that is where you're in the close contact battle and you are firing from this side and the enemy is firing from that side. There were times when you used to look at that guy and you used to think that he has also got family beyond, right? And he's also fighting for his own country, as we are, right? And we are all controlled by some higher powers, but we each perform a duty here. So one thing which I developed was a very intense respect for, while we always respected ourselves, right? But I also developed a respect for the other side, a soldier who's also willing to give life for his country, like we were willing to give life. So a man in uniform across the world is similar, right? If he follows the path of true professionalism, so that is one facet which I saw as a young officer. But the second thing which comes out very clearly to my mind is when I was a major and I was in South Kashmir, and there's an operation in which one of my young boys who had a few years of service, and he's shot in an ambush in the night. And I was part of the quick reaction team which reached out to that ambush, and there was a firing going all around you. The grenades were being lobbed. There's a whole chaos, and about 4 or 5 soldiers are injured. You need to take a call because you're the senior most that need to evacuate first, to firefight first, to save life or get out of the terrorists. Because if you don't get out of the terrorists, more lives will be lost because they got ambushed. That patrol got ambushed, and so when you reach there and you see this young boy, his gut has been spilt out. He has taken a burst in his stomach, and only glance changes in the mid of night where you can't see your own hand in front, dark night. But you see that flash in his eyes. And the flash is that I know you're here. You're my company commander. You'll save me now. And when you put your hand in his gut and everything is in your hand, you also know that you can't save him. And that is a very profound moment. It actually kills something inside. And you may be the boss responsible for those lives, but actually there are times that you can't do much. And that is something I think for an Indian Army officer, that is a very transformational moment. And that is the time you start believing something, supernatural, and you start believing it. You start becoming spiritual, I think, I guess. Till that time, you're so kicked up that you can crack life. You're physically fit, you're tough, you can climb mountains, you can outrun your soldiers. But when you lose a man on a watch, that is something which actually kills something inside you. Right?
In such moments, sir, वो जो कुछ seconds होती हैं ऐसी जहाँ हमें we have to take those, I would say, not even tough calls. Those are, I don't know how do you define them, but those moments, I'm sure they need a lot of stability in your head. They need a lot of clarity. Is it instinct, practice, or is it the sheer mindset that comes handy at that?
So a lot of people call instinct, and I think this thing comes very often. Instinct is a collation of huge experiences which you grow over a period of time. And the good part of our Indian Army training is that you're put through intense training over a period of time. You're put out number of times in smaller ways, in peacetime, training, exercises, that these things eventually come as a natural instinct, right? And but it is not technically an instinct. It is a practice has been honed at that point. So the moment you see this, within seconds, fractions, you have to decide that should I get after saving this boy who's so attached. I have played football with him. He was very close to me, just got married. You know his full history. You know his name, bachon ka naam, biwi ka naam. You know everything about that boy. Should I get emotionally attached to save him? And what are the consequences, right? So that happens. The AI can't be that fast. Quantum tech, big data management can't be that fast. It comes like this, right? And you keep on taking that call. Then the worst comes is when you reflect upon it, right? And there are times when you reflect that could you have done things differently? And that is where your lessons learned come, right? And therefore you start changing, honing. There could be other ways to do things because tomorrow a much worse situation will come, right? So you prepare for it. So I guess that is how it is. And I have carried a motto for my life ever. No regrets, no fear. I wear it every time. Yeah, no? It's called Pashatapana Bhyamna. I know that point of time when I took that decision was based on my experiences, knowledge, conditions and context of the time. It may be right or wrong, but I took a decision at that point of time. I should not revisit it, because the moment I start regretting that decision, my next decisions are going to be flawed.
That's a great one, sir. So for you, as an inspiration, as a leader, as a commander, and as you have grown ranks in the armed forces, what is that one word that defines leadership, true leadership?
Yeah, I think it's about courage, right? And courage is not courage in terms of physical courage only. Courage has got multiple facets. When I use courage, courage is instinctive. Courage is to do the things right. It is about conviction. It is about moral values. Courage is that I'm being offered, let's say it's an office time, not much work to do, but I'm being offered a beer. Should I take this beer thinking, okay, I don't have much work to do, but it's an office time, and so it's maybe starting from such a small thing. Also, to be able to tell your boss that this is your order, which is wrong, and by the way, can we do it better? Right? It also comes in terms of physical courage, in which you see a belt of fire coming in front of you, and therefore you need to, when you have to jump yourself as a youngster, it's much more easier to do it, because you have been trained to get into firefight. But when you know as a senior leader, that's why the courage levels are different. Then to tell somebody else to get into a belt of fire, knowing fully well there is a possibility of him dying, requires a different. You need to look into the eyes and tell that boy, tell the soldier or that young officer, that when you're going to step out and do this operation, there's a high possibility of dying. That courage is a different courage. So courage has got multiple. One thing which defines courage to be honest, courage to be correct, courage to do so many facets is something which defines a good leader.
So it's the courage that anchors you.
Yeah, for me,
It's
courage is
the
anchors.
belief, the training, the instinctiveness, that is all in a way cementing the courage, and it could be, I would say, circumstantial. But that's some real, I would say, motivation for the young viewers watching you, because a lot of us in different situations in our life tend to take a backseat. Like you gave a very simple example of saying a no to something which is not as good as you think, just because of someone, in corporates we call it hippo, highest paid person's opinion. So if the highest paid person's opinion is in a particular format or a particular direction, people usually take a backseat and would not contradict or would not want to add a value to it. But I think what we're hearing loud and clear, कि अगर courage है, उसको courage को आप use कीजिए and use it to better yourself and the organization that you. Sir, a difficult question. We have heard from many veterans online, and some of them fortunate in my life I've been associated with, and I've spoken to them, that the hardest part isn't the battlefield. It's about leaving it. How was your transition to the so-called civilian life?
Yeah. Look, it is hard. It is hard for the people who don't prepare to transit. One thing is very important of a leader, especially for a soldier. And through you, I will send this message to veterans and also to the serving ones, that the beauty of army is that you know your retirement date. You know your expiry date. It may happen early because of circumstances which are beyond your control. It may happen due to death. It may happen due to disability. It may happen due to other circumstances. But we know that you can't be in uniform forever. Once we know of that, the training per se prepares us for all contingencies. We need to use that training which has been prepared to train us, not only into operations, into our job front, but we should also prepare to transit. So for me, actually, it didn't make any different transitioning, because in my mind, I was very clear 4 or 5 years back. You see, a good part of army also is that when you are a lieutenant colonel, you don't know you're going to become a colonel or not. You are going through a board. You may not become a colonel. So you may retire at 52 years of age. So at 48 or 46 years of age, you should be preparing to exit at 52. There are options with you. That what should you, and you should prepare. So similarly, if you became, when I became a brigadier colonel, then I knew I could serve till 54. I should start preparing to exit at 54 because there's no guarantee to become a brigadier. But when I became a lieutenant general, I knew surely that at 60 I'm going to retire. If something else happens, which will never happen actually in our army, we are not a royalty-driven army that chalo tumko 2 saal aur naukri de diya. You are going to retire at 60. I'll be not good an officer or a soldier if I have not prepared for my transition. The day I retired, I left my official house. Right, I could have taken a house. I was authorized because till the last day you're working, you don't have time to work for your own house. Right, the last day when I retired, next day morning I drove out from my house, lock, stock, and barrel, and I moved to my own home. The work for which I started 2 years back, I knew I have to retire, so we bought a house. We settled up, but we started transitioning in terms of handling. So today, between me and my wife, we handle every code which is required to do. So army is within me, but the life is out of me.
Wow.
And then now we are so committed, I don't have time even today. Right? So you develop habits, hobbies, work ethics. So I had decided that I'll be doing some good philanthropic work. I'll keep on writing. There's already a book which has been written about me. I'm already into my first book, which will get published by the end of the month. I've got two masters behind me. I've got an MPhil degree. I registered for a PhD. Almost once in a fortnight, I write an article or a paper, do research. So I have taken this side, right? So everybody needs to find his own way to keep himself engaged. It's very difficult. Till my last day of work, I was working about 12 to 14 hours a day. How should I need to continue to be fruitfully employed for the country is important. So I think what I'm doing today, by doing this podcast to you, I'm doing something for my country, which is in my nature.
Absolutely.
Right? Sending a message, recording it out. So I guess that is how I decided to transit. It was not very difficult.
Absolutely.
I don't miss wearing my uniform.
Lovely. Sir, there is this, I would say, belief that the armed forces do not essentially pay you that well. I'm sure if you compare the remuneration as compared to the corporate world, a lot of our young, bright students or the talent, somewhere has that apprehension that I could make a lot more money if I, join a corporate and stuff. Would you want to give a message to our young generation as to how could they plan and maybe think of this better? Because the nation's, I would say, service is, we're sure that it's far higher of a grade than serving any corporate or any organization. Of course, you could do your own business as well. But any piece of advice for the young viewers?
Look, you have to take a choice, right? Frankly, the armed forces don't pay you for the kind of sacrifices you make, right? Because they know there is enough number of people who aspire to wear that uniform. That passion to wear uniform is possibly one thing which is maybe this country exploits of our youth to not pay them adequately well, right? And therefore, when I took a call to join, and most of the young boys who take a call to join army or Air Force or Navy or wear the belt actually, they take a call not exactly for a career or for a job per se. They take it out of passion. So it's like, if you want to pick up a sport and you got passionate about this sport, you may not become the top guy and start getting advertisements and sponsors. You're doing it for a job. So unfortunately, while we join for passion, the condition of the country today is such that maybe it aren't able to pay as much they may be wanting to do. Second is, I think, also a visibility factor, because we come to the nation's eye when there's a war or a conflict or a major challenge which happens. So when Pahalgam happens, everybody asks, where's the security? Where is the security? Right? Where are the perpetrators? Why have you not killed? Things like that. Or when the Chinese thing happened, when a problem happens, everybody starts looking at uniform, right? But the moment it gets over, you're out of mind, and then you're looking at the glitz world which is around. So till the time that psyche of the country doesn't change, right? That kind of respect, or I'll say the remunerations which are supposed to pull people inside, may not happen. But the best is that in case you want to make money, it's better that you go into the corporate world. Don't come, because this organization can give you memories, give you passion, give something to stand by, to live by, and talk stories eventually, which may not be true in corporate world. You make money, you may have great parties, but frankly, I got memories to tell many years.
So, throughout your journey with the armed forces, I'm sure you were, like you said, you didn't have enough time to actually take care of your own home because you were taking care of, of the home for 140 crore Indians. Did you ever feel the need of planning your financial future, maybe for your kids, maybe for your extended family?
Yeah, look, unfortunately, I am from infantry, right? And infantry is that guy who stays right in front. Most of my early years, if a letter came from home, it took 15 days to a month and a half to reach, right? So there will be a link which will take place in a 15 days time, which will be called an Adam link because it is risky to move, or slightly more distant, or a chopper will come and drop a 15 days load of letters. That letter will reach you at some point of time. Over a period of time, I guess it gets totally neglected. Financial future, especially, I never had the time or thought even to do it. And then it becomes so ingrained after 5, 6, 10 years that this facet of financial management gets totally left aside, right? So you're not focused at all. So, like when I grew in service, when I became a colonel, when possibly I was at the headquarters and beyond, now once that nerve is not existing in terms of making money, you don't focus on that side. And I think maybe I don't want to regret that time because I have enjoyed my career. I don't have money today, but who cares? I got great memories, and my wife doesn't judge me by the money which I carry. She judges me with what I have achieved in my military career. I think that is more important to me. But yes, I wish for the newer generation, which actually looks at, in today's world, money is very important, I guess. Right? 15, 20 years, it was not so. So they should have an opportunity to invest into their money and plan their finances well.
So there's a very small country by the name of Singapore. I'm sure you would know that anybody turning an adult in Singapore across 18 years of age, and you are, by design, you have to serve in the public services, be it the armed forces, be it the police, be it the fire. But in India today, of course, we are the biggest democracy in the world, and people have a lot of choice, and whether to join the forces, not to join the forces. But it's not a choice in a country which is maybe even lesser than 1/10 of the size that we are. And that country has progressed like anything. Would you have a suggestion for our government to maybe think of such a policy wherein it's a system that all youngsters crossing a particular level of age would have to serve for a particular time? What's your view?
Yeah, so you're talking about Singapore, which is maybe hindered the size of our country.
Yeah.
Right. I have been to Singapore twice. And the people there, technically, it is not democracy, right? It is a very, very disciplined society. And that comes because of the smaller, their survival is at stake, actually. The way they came about, their creation and their mix of population and their control which was required. And they had a fantastic leader which ensured that the discipline which is required for a citizen is culturally ingrained from the school time onwards. So, a smaller society, smaller country, yes, it is plausible. Second is that numbers, 1.4 billion to virtually in a couple of million population. the needs are totally different, right? So maybe there's a compulsion to do it there. But yes, for our country also, I will surely recommend that every person should go through minimum of 1 to 2 years service somewhere in the fringes, far-flung areas to possibly understand and go through the training process. Because our training process about those, when a soldier joins, in that 5, 6 months, 9 months of training, is put through a curriculum in which from a urban boy or a rural boy, he comes out on the other end, a person who's disciplined and who values money, who values discipline, who values the country, right? So that transition possibly is very, very imperative for our countrymen. And that unfortunately doesn't exist. So when you see a parliamentary debate, you will find politicians making comments which are which reflects their absence of knowledge on national security and the constraints in which operations are actually executed. So that kind of a responsibility also will come about in the highest level and in the corporate or in the civil street or in the civic street. So what is happening is that today when I go out, let's say I'm going out to the gym in the morning, you see the roads cleaned, wherein everybody comes out, all those safai kamcharis, they come and they clean the roads. But as the day progresses, from the rich to middle income to the poor to youth to old to young to everybody will come out and litter the place. One simple example. So having been into a military organization will allow you to respect everybody else's work and how to keep your country clean. And the discipline which comes out and the love for the country which comes out will get instilled. I think it is worth a try. But unfortunately, the numbers are so huge that maybe it will require a major effort to transition people and put them through the system. You look at this Agniveer scheme, it's actually in the similar line. How much political ramification happened about when you went through this Agniveer. So while everybody says, Fauj ke andar naukri hona chahiye, but they look at it as a point of a permanent job rather than an experiential form. So the day the country realizes that in Israel, in US, UK, all the countries which are powerful countries, they have this system of serving the nation for a couple of years, right? That's how it should be.
No, that's a brilliant lens. You said at the end of the day, चाहे कोई गोरखपुर से हो, चाहे कोई दिल्ली से हो, चाहे कोई बॉम्बे से हो, अगर वो फौज ज्वाइन कर रहा है या कर रही है, after the tenure of the training, at least one, I would say, same scale with which they're measured is the discipline that they have, is the, I would not say the skill set, but the attitude that they have acquired during that training. That's a brilliant lens. And just extended that, sir. I don't know how relevant that question is, but do you think that in the democratic setup that we live in, what if this training could also be made mandatory for all politicians?
Yeah, when you're saying it's a citizen, he's also politicians, also citizen. Unfortunately, they don't think that way. They think that everybody else is citizen and we are cut above the rest. But the fact of the matter is, primarily, he's also an Indian citizen. So if he wants to fight an election, he must go through minimum of physical service of about a year worth. So when you get and serve out there as a soldier, and I'm saying not as an officer, he needs to sit and stay as a soldier. Then possibly the investment which are required, the respect which is required, will people, when a soldier is standing there on a snow-clad area with minus 40, 50 degrees centigrade, and he has to stand out to watch untoward activity of an enemy, right? And the snow, when the snow falls, it looks very beautiful in a movie. It falls like this. The snow doesn't fall vertically from top to down. In these areas, the snow flies into your eyes, nose, every little corner which is there. So while the temperature may be actually 10 degrees or 20 degrees, but when the wind is there, the stormy wind of about 100 kilometers per hour is there, that temperature actually goes down to minus 60, minus 70. Right? And then within a year or 2 years' time, he switches to deserts. And there he's seeing a 50-degree temperature. So when you go through those physical extremities, you have respect for your national security, you have respect for your independence. You take decisions for your country's independence then. Right now, you're sitting in a very good, encouched environment. You may have benefited because your father was a sir or a colonial slave, and therefore you become a today politician or a judge or a bureaucrat or from a businessman. You don't understand the value of independence. The value of independence is understood by the soldier who stands there guard, and he is willing to give his life for that.
Lovely. The value of independence is actually understood by a soldier who's standing on the LOC and facing it. And I think we just hope that this message goes on to the right people, that people swearing in as politicians at the lowest level, they should have a mandatory training as to have that discipline first, so that they could serve the country and thereby, the 140 crore citizens in the right manner. But that's lovely. Sir, let's quickly now change gears and have a quick rapid fire round. These are short, instinctive answers that we would expect. And you can go on, right? So your most memorable command post?
Sirama. It's in South Kashmir, established by me on May 1990, May 1995. I have seen a lot of actions in that place. We had a lot of losses, a lot of successes. I lost my commanding officer in front of me. That location, it has got very, very negative to positive memories. Right, that post is still there. It's a very important post, and we are able to actually eliminate terrorism from there. We swung the direction of terrorism in my time that place. So I guess that's my most important post.
Lovely. One lesson from the armed forces every civilian should learn.
Love your country.
Book or motto that you live by.
No regrets, no fear.
No regrets, no fear. Clarity or consistency, if you had to choose one.
Consistency.
One message for India this Independence Day.
Love your civilization.
Great. Generally, a journey is more than inspiring. It's a lesson in discipline, service, and purpose. Thank you not just for this conversation, but for a lifetime of protecting our country, what we hold dear to ourselves. To our listeners, freedom is definitely a gift, but preserving it, building on it, that's our responsibility. Whether in investing, relationships, or leadership, or life, the principles that safeguard nations also safeguards legacy. Long-term thinking, clarity in decisions, consistency in action. From all of us at Equentis, thank you for tuning in to this Independence Day special episode. Until next time, stay curious, stay courageous, and keep building. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.